Board to order, and we will start asking everyone to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll start off first with Glenn doing our recognition for this evening.
Thank you. In 2012, when James Gleason, lead pastor of Sunrise Church, approached Superintendent Mike Scott about offering a part-time coordinator for HSD to process the needs of students and staff and to connect those in need with groups to help serve them, the district was grateful for such incredible generosity. This gift from Sunrise Church came with the promise that it would be solely an offer of community partnership. Neighbors helping neighbors, not a church and a state issue. Church members Katie Willis and Colleen Garrett shared the volunteer coordinator position. They each initially worked 10 hours per week, but with growing needs, their hours have increased to 15 hours per week. They have done an outstanding job, assisting whenever needed, and have become invaluable to the district. The programs that Ms. Willis and Ms. Garrett support include Operation School Bell, which provides clothing to students, Elks Holiday Food Drive, and Food Box Program. Hillsboro Ministerial Association's Immediate Needs, Community Care Day Beautification, I need my glasses, I should have done that project, and volunteer opportunities with local business and community members. They also assist in coordinating some district events, assisting with student art displays, and distributing school supplies and other types of donations. So thank you very much for your support, and we'd like you guys to come up and get a picture with us. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate you guys.
James, would you like to say a few words? Because this was your brainchild. I would like you to say
We really are honored to be able to serve the schools here, and which is really students and teachers. And it is a blast. And as these ladies know, what they get to do is actually fun. It really is. And so it's just a joy to do it. So thank you. Thanks for opening up your heart to allow us to do such a thing.
Thank you very much. I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't say something because these ladies work in my department, and honestly, the simplest way I can put it is there are things that would not be happening in this district if it wasn't for them. So.
Thank you. It is very, very rare when someone calls you out of the blue and says, hey, I've got this idea. And the idea comes at not only great expense to them, but it is just such a helpful event when it occurs. And that is that's what happened with James when he called me. And we got together a couple of times and we had a lot of conversation about it. And the incredible thing is they ask nothing more than to serve the community. And that's exactly what they've done for the last several years. So I'm Katie and Colleen, thank you. I see you guys on a regular basis. And James, thank you for your continued support. We truly appreciate it. And like Beth said, there's so many things that wouldn't be happening but for the relationship that we have and for Katie and Colleen's work. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you. And we don't expect you to stay for the whole meeting. Feel free to take your exit.
As entertaining as it might be.
Right.
Wonderful. Well, we have a good agenda for this evening, and before I ask for approval of the agenda, I would just comment that at the close of our work session, we discussed potentially adding a topic about a recent trip that Travis has been involved in. He requested some time to prepare for that rather than to speak off the cuff. And so
And Monty is fine with delaying that exciting conversation. It's a really good topic, I'm really interested, but we're happy to let Travis have some time to prepare properly for that. So with that, we wouldn't be modifying the agenda for that purpose or handling that as we previously talked. So starting there, I would be looking for an approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as printed.
Second?
The agenda's, the motion has been made by Kim and seconded by Lisa to approve the agenda. Any discussion?
Okay, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood. Are we or are we not going to have Travis talk
We
to us?
are not going to have Travis talk to us on that topic.
Okay, that's fine.
He'd prefer to prepare.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
No worries. So with that, all those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Motion carries. And we will move. At this point, we have audience time, and I have a statement to read about audience time, and then we have someone with that request. Audience participation with regards to board meetings. Public participation in board meetings is governed by policy BDBH. Patrons may comment on specific agenda items at the beginning of the meeting or at the discretion of the board chair may be deferred to the time the item is before the board as stated in the agenda. Comments about non-agenda items will be heard during audience time at the beginning of the regular board meeting. Speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers may offer objective criticisms of the school operations and programs that are of concern to them. However, in public sessions, the board will not hear personal complaints of school personnel, nor against any person connected with the school. Other channels provide for board consideration and disposition of legitimate complaints involving individuals, involving board policy, KLD, public complaints. And if anyone wishes to address the board, there are comment cards in the back that you can pick up and give to Val, and we have one this evening so far, and we will call up Bill Kness. As you come up, we'll ask you just to state your name and address for the record, and then you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Bill Ness, and I live at 2339 Northeast Estate Drive in Hillsboro. I've got 2 daughters that are at Glencoe High School. And the topic I just wanted to make a comment on is the thought exchange surveys that the district has been sending out. I know that I've participated in the first 3 that have been sent out. And I'm at a point, I guess at this stage, and I think maybe other people who regularly participate in your surveys are reaching this, is that I'm concerned that it's a good collection of data, but I'm wondering what's happening with the data. And I know Superintendent Scott recently, in his last video message, mentioned, hey, go to the website and take a look. And I was under the impression that I might be able to see what the district is doing with the data. And what I found is just it's a data dump. It's reporting on what the data is. And so I know that the plan is to do a couple more surveys per year for the next few years. And I guess I'm at a point where probably when I get the next email for doing another survey, I might not do it. And it's just based on, I'm not really sure what's happening with the previous surveys. So I guess my point of coming up here is to encourage you guys to let us participants know what's actually happening with the data versus just giving us a data dump and saying this is what it is. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I appreciate your input, and we will be more deliberate about getting back with people with what we're doing with the information. We have found the information incredibly useful, and we have taken that into account on a variety of decisions, but evidently we haven't been clear enough about what we're doing with that, so we will get that out in a very public way. So, thank you. So don't give up on participating just yet. We will get that out.
Okay, thank you. I find myself in a unique position. We have a second person who wants to come up. Please go, Stephanie Clift. State your name and address. And you'll have 3 minutes.
Really gap right down there. She goes 1 second over.
I'll just not say anything about that.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Clift, and in case you're not aware, Clift is my husband. Anyway, I reside at 316 Northeast 19th Avenue. I'm a Hillsboro parent, school parent and a Hillsboro school volunteer. I'm here tonight regarding the calendar for next year to make a request to defer decision on that until next month's meeting for the purpose of I would like you to consider putting in or switching the teacher, and now name totally escapes me, but the teacher work day that is normally put towards the beginning of November for teacher development. Instead, move it to before Thanksgiving. I know there was some consideration by the board to see what kind of absenteeism there was on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. The problem regarding finding out that information is it's been about 5 years since we've had school, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, due to budget reduction days and parent-teacher conferences we've had in the past. So I'm just requesting you to defer that motion for a month and consider it when you actually have live data to look at. Thank you.
Okay, we will move now to reports and discussion. And first up is Olga with a report on the Migrant Bilingual English Language Learners Program.
So thank you. Olga's not able to be with us tonight, so I'm going to introduce Cindy Avila, who's here to introduce our Parent Advisory Council presenters. On behalf of Olga, I would like to say that the PACs are part of what we do under federal programs to get parent input, family input on our programs in order to improve those. And under Olga's leadership and Cindy as a liaison for family and community engagement, we've really ramped up our engagement efforts with our parent community, and we're really lucky to have the parents here tonight and Cindy as a liaison to describe some of that work. We don't think we can have an excellent system without the input of our parents and diverse groups. And so these PAC parents are here to share what their work is, but I also want the board to know that a couple of them participate in the Citizens Curriculum Advisory Committee as well. So these are parents who are very engaged on a couple of different levels in helping us create a better school district. So Cindy, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you, PAC members. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí y bienvenidos. Gracias por su trabajo aquí en nuestro distrito.
Gracias, Travis. Good evening. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Cindy Ávila, como mencionó el señor Travis. Y yo estoy involucrada en asuntos comunitarios aquí a nivel del distrito. Pero esta noche tengo el placer de presentarles el Comité de Padres Asesores. So, like as Travis mentioned, I am the Community and Family Engagement Liaison for the district, and I have the pleasure to introduce you to our Parent Advisory Council. They're going to go a little bit more in detail as to the ways that they are involved here at the district, and also what we're doing this year, and our goals that we have this year as parent engagement efforts. And so, esta tarde a los padres para mencionar un poco acerca de su papel en el comité y también acerca de unas metas que tenemos este año escolar para tratar de alcanzar más padres, más voces en nuestra comunidad. Solamente bien brevemente quiero mencionar el propósito del PAC. El propósito es de tener la planificación y el desarrollo de administración de programas académicos, como el programa migrante, programas bilingües, duales y asuntos comunitarios y programas de desarrollo del inglés. Entonces, el trabajo que hacemos es bien comprensivo, hay mucho que tratamos de alcanzar. So, what we do as a committee is we advise staff on planning and development and evaluation of academic programs such as the migrant program, bilingual programs, community affairs, and English language development programs. And so it's a very comprehensive work that we do, and we really try to engage parent voices and community voices through partnerships in the community. So I'll go ahead and pass the mic to This evening we have our president of our committee, Peter Malinche. And then we also have our vice president, Laura Gomez. And we have a couple of our members as well. We have Elizabeth Garcia, Heriberta Diaz, and Marisol Cariños. And so, voy a estar un poquito hablando acerca de las cosas que hemos hecho y su involucramiento en nuestro comité y distrito. So they're going to be sharing the work that they've done and also the leadership that they have been able to develop through being part of this committee here in the school district, here in the Hillsboro School District, but also in the Hillsboro community and in Washington County. So with further ado, I'll go ahead and introduce Laura.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Laura Gómez Martínez. La importancia de nuestro apoyo como PAC es con el fin de apoyar a más papás para el desarrollo de nuestros hijos.
Good evening. My name is Laura Gomez Martinez. The importance of our PAC is to offer support and also to support our parents.
Para que tengan un mejor futuro educativo. Lo que hemos hecho hasta ahora, los grandes logros que hemos obtenido.
So they have a better future in the education, and also what we have done until now,
en los cuales estamos involucrados el PAC en diferentes roles.
in regards to what we're involved as PAC members in different roles.
Papel en PAC, desarrollo, su liderazgo y a la misma vez que toma diferentes roles en otras formas como
For example, the role in PAC, developing leadership skills, and at the same time taking different roles in different ways.
SPAC, un comité estatal de padres líderes de programa migrante.
For example, SPAC, the State Parent Advisory Committee. It's a committee at the state level for parent leaders for the migrant education program.
Comité de Ciudadanos Asesores de Currículo.
The Citizens Advisory Curriculum Committee.
PAC en W. Henry.
PAC over at W. Henry.
Activa en la educación de mis hijos como apoyarlos en sus tareas y darles esa seguridad que como papás estamos ahí para apoyarlos.
Also be active in the education of my children, such as supporting them in their homework, giving them the assurance from a parent, being there to support them.
Apoyarlos en escuelas junto a sus maestros y directores.
To support them in their school together with the teachers and the principal.
Y también nosotros estamos organizando talleres y presentaciones de padres a padres para apoyarnos a seguir aprendiendo día con día.
Also, we organize workshops and different presentations from a parent-to-parent perspective to support and also to keep on learning each time more.
Gracias. Es todo de mi parte.
Thank you. That is all from my behalf.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Elizabeth García.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Garcia.
Soy miembro de PAC de este distrito escolar.
I am a member of this school district's PAC.
Estoy aquí para aprender a ayudar a mis hijos en su educación
I'm here to learn to help my children in their education,
y a la vez ayudar a mi escuela que es New Verde.
and at the same time help my school, which is Newberry.
También soy miembro del Consejo de Padres del Aprendizaje Temprano.
I'm also a member of the Committee for Early Learning.
Ahora les explico.
Now let me explain.
En el condado de Washington es una colaboración entre el United Way de Columbia Willamette y el condado de Washington.
So let me go ahead and explain. So the Early Learning Hub, it's part of the Washington County and also in partnership with United Way and the Columbia Willamette, and also together as a partnership.
Tenemos tres metas.
We have three different goals.
La primera, que las familias estén sanas, estables y conectadas.
That our families can be healthy, stable, and connected.
Que los servicios estén alineados, coordinados y sean efectivos.
That our services can be aligned, coordinated, and effective.
Que los niños estén preparados para el kinder y que sean capaces de leer al nivel de su grado cuando lleguen al tercer grado.
That the students can be ready for kinder and also be able to read at benchmark level, especially when they get to third grade.
¿Por qué es importante esto?
And why is this important?
Porque antes del tercer grado hay que aprender a leer para llegar a leer al tercer grado. Hay que saber leer para aprender.
Because before third grade, it's important to learn how to read, but when they reach third grade, it is important to read in order to learn.
Cosas que hemos hecho desde que empezamos, que fue en marzo.
Things that we have done since March.
Hemos formado parte del trabajo de crear el plan estratégico para el bienio 2015-2017.
We have been part of the work that is in place for the strategic plan for the biennium 2015 through 2017.
Nuestro trabajo se ha centrado en crear estrategias y tácticas para incrementar el número de niños que reciben evaluaciones de desarrollo y aumentar el número de visitas rutinarias a 6 o más entre los 0 y 15 meses de edad.
Our work is focused on creating a strategic plan to increase the number of children who are being screened for the development, and also to increase the number of well-child visits between the ages of 6 and 0, and also including 15 months old.
Gracias por su gran trabajo. Gracias por escucharme.
Thank you for all your hard work, and thank you for listening to me.
Buenas noches a todos, mi nombre es Irma Alonso, soy presidenta del Comité de Padres y les doy las gracias primero que todo a ustedes por escucharnos y a mis padres que nos están acompañando, que nos representan a nuestra comunidad hispana.
Good evening to all. My name is Irma Alonso. I am the president of the PAC, which is the Parent Advisory Committee. Thank you today, and I want to thank everybody and also the parents who are here tonight.
Nuestras metas de estos años presentes y los que vienen.
Our goals for this year and for the years to come.
A reclutar a más padres para involucrarse en la escuela y en el distrito.
To recruit more parents so they can become involved at their school and also at the district level.
Motivar a nuestros hijos, estudiantes en la lectura y en matemáticas y talleres familiares.
To motivate our children in math and reading and also with family workshops.
Colaborar con el distrito del distrito para el liderazgo.
To collaborate with the school district for leadership.
Apoyar iniciativas del aprendizaje temprano para la preparación de el kinder.
To support early learning initiatives for kindergarten readiness.
Nuestras metas y lo que estamos haciendo como comité.
Our goals and what we're doing as a committee.
La colaboración entre los padres y las escuelas.
The collaboration between parents and schools.
Participaciones en nuestra comunidad.
Participating in our community.
Participación a nivel del estado.
Participation at the state level.
Participando en comité del currículo ciudadano.
Participating in the Citizens Curriculum Advisory Committee.
Y actualmente estamos dando presentaciones en diferentes escuelas para que más padres se inspiren y motiven Y miren que sí podemos, aunque no hablemos inglés.
And currently, we're actually giving different presentations at different schools to engage parents so they can see that it is possible for them to participate as well.
Y aprovechar el apoyo que tenemos ustedes como líderes que nos representan en el distrito.
And to take advantage of your support as you guys are leaders in our school district.
Y tenemos metas y yo sé que las vamos a lograr.
And we have goals, and I know we'll go ahead and reach them.
Como lo tenemos este año, con mucha asistencia de nuestros padres. Gracias, padres, por apoyarnos en todo momento.
Like this year, with the attendance of our parents, thank you so much for being present. Thank you for supporting us.
Que tengan buenas noches.
Have a good night.
I also wanted to give the board a couple of minutes if you all had any questions for our members and the work that they've shared today. También quería darles un poco de tiempo a la mesa directiva para ver si tenían preguntas para el comité y lo que mencionaron los padres.
How can we help as a board get more parents involved in the schools? I know you guys are doing a great job, but can we help to do more?
Pues yo creo que algo que hemos compartido como miembros de la mesa de PAC,
I think something that we've shared as members of the PAC
es precisamente ir a las escuelas a tener nuestras reuniones e invitar a los padres por escuela, porque es difícil de que ellos vengan hasta acá.
One thing is we're going to hold our PAC meetings at different schools so we can invite more parents so they can attend at these meetings, because sometimes it's difficult for them to attend the meetings here at the admin office.
Y esto ya lo estamos comenzando a hacer, así es que nuestra próxima junta de PAC es en W. Henry.
And we're starting to do this already. Our next meeting will be at W. Henry.
Próximo jueves.
This Thursday.
Están invitados.
And you are invited.
Your tiempo? 5:30 dinner, and then our meetings start from 6 to 8.
Y esa es nuestra meta, de hacer nuestras reuniones de comité en diferentes escuelas para que logremos más involucramiento de nuestros padres.
And that is our goal, to hold our meetings at different schools so we can engage more parents.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. Thank you guys so much for coming. And also, I'm really excited to hear that several of your members are involved in the CCAC this year. That's something that I did for the last 2 years, and it was a great experience. I was just at a conference about increasing parent involvement and things like that. And one of the things that stuck with me is, as I said, a good saying to remember is, it's not about us without us. And so I love that you all are trying to bring in the Spanish-speaking community, because we have such a huge part of our district and such a valuable voice to bring to the table. So I really appreciate that you guys are working together to do that. Thank you.
Gracias a
Thank you. Thank you.
Tengo pregunta también. ¿Hay otras cosas que podemos, como el distrito, que podemos ayudarles?
Sí, yo creo que sí pueden seguir haciendo, dándonos la oportunidad a nosotros como padres, invitándonos a sus reuniones, porque nosotros somos la voz de los padres y nosotros los llevamos a la información a diferentes escuelas.
What Mr. Wincliffe said, is there another way that we can support you as district board members? And what Mrs. Irma said, and yes, if you could please voice and continue supporting us.
Y escuchar nuestras necesidades, porque ellos son de suma importancia para nosotros.
And then also, if you could please listen to our needs, because you are a very important role in this process.
Algo que también quisiera agregar es que en nuestra escuela particularmente estamos notando que en realidad sí hay apoyo por parte del distrito escolar, pero no como quisiéramos, ¿verdad? Hay una brecha que existe entre escuela y maestros. Entonces, si queremos el éxito, debe de haber mayor comunicación entre padres y maestros.
Thank you so much. We do see that there is support from the district office at our school, at the school level, but we also see that there's a gap between school and the parent communication as well.
Another thing that we're really trying to do is collaborate a lot more by being more engaged with different committees and then also in the community. So we're really trying to find those opportunities where our interaction and our work can overlap. And I think just having a space this year to be able to present here at the school board meetings has been very beneficial, and just reaching more parents, having the awareness of the committee that the Parent Advisory Council has been doing and is continuing to do. So we really are grateful for these opportunities, and we want to continue to find those areas where we can expand the work and continue to reach more parents at wider levels through district-wide efforts and through really supporting our strategic plan. One of the works that we've really been engaged on is equity work, making sure that we really have parent participation at school level, but we're also able to engage more voices into what is really needed, because each school community looks very different. So, nada más por bien rápido lo que mencioné. Una de las cosas que hemos hecho este año es de que realmente estamos tratando de colaborar más con la mesa directiva, con muchos programas académicos, con muchas escuelas, y estamos bien agradecidos por tener oportunidad como esta, en donde tenemos la oportunidad de mencionar acerca de qué estamos haciendo como comité y tener más oportunidades de alcanzar más padres en el distrito y ver en formas en que podemos apoyar el trabajo de la equidad y del plan estratégico que está desarrollando el distrito escolar.
También quiero agregar algo, que gracias por la ayuda al programa migrante, programa de verano. Es una gran ayuda de parte de ustedes, y nos gustaría como padres también que nos sigan apoyando. Este año fue un bonito año de educación. Gracias a todos por su trabajo.
Also, we just want to thank the Migrant Education Program, the summer school program. Please keep supporting us. Thank you so much for all your support.
Janine.
I just really wanted to add that I thank you so much for being here tonight. It's very exciting to see parents be partners, and really committed partners, because we are about educating our students. And I just really appreciate that you're just a committed partner in this, in making sure our kids succeed, and that you're actively engaged. And I love the idea that you are seeking out those parents. You are going where they are to their schools to really engage them and let them know the importance of this, and to garner that support. So I just appreciate all your efforts and your time and your, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I could also just take a minute and thank you as well. I see you guys everywhere. You're so involved in the community and in your schools, and that's something we would wish for all of our parents, is that they would be as visible as you have been in your community, that they would take a leadership role as you have in your community. We just really appreciate that. The work that you're doing with the parents in your neighborhood, the work that you're doing to provide leadership, we absolutely appreciate it. And you're such an important voice, and so glad that you are here this evening. So thank you very much.
Travis asked if I could take a group picture. But not if you still had something to say. You finish, and then I'll take a picture.
Oh, no.
You all done? Okay. Come forward. Right here.
No. Those are camera shots.
Oh, I was like, who are they looking at? Okay, one more.
Good. Thank you. We are moving to our next topic. We have a first reading of boundary adjustment recommendation. It's my opportunity to introduce the topic and tell a little bit about the context that we have here. Actually, if you were in the earlier work session, we had a fairly extensive discussion about this. So I'll try to do a more abbreviated version. Back in, and then there will be comments, but this is then going on first reading. We're not taking action tonight on it. But I am taking questions from the board at that point. So back in September, the board took action to act on a request to have a boundary adjustment between Hillsboro and Beaverton reviewed formally. Hillsboro School Board made the decision to move forward on that request, and we put forward a recommendation to Beaverton School District to engage in some thoughtful discussions as a committee to evaluate the proposal for this particular land swap. Information is in the board packets. From that time in, and by the way, there's also maps involved on the back table if you'd care for them. The committee launched its efforts in September, and as a result, the board chairs, the superintendents, the financial officers, and other people from both districts came together as a committee to discuss in detail the proposal of the two properties involved and all the issues involved in carrying forward or evaluating that opportunity. As part of the process, there was an extensive campaign to advertise and solicit about information about the proposed land swap and to seek community input. A series of meetings was conducted both in Beaverton and Hillsboro, where we presented in more detail the plans and entertained all the questions that the public had that came to the meetings. Very good discussions, attended broadly by many folks in the district, the committee involved, and many of the board members here were also in attendance at one or both of those meetings. As the committee evaluated the proposal, it was operating on a specific set of guiding principles on which they would base any decision for considering land swap between the two districts. And as part of the board packet, I did want to read, as I did before in the work session, the guiding principles involved in the proposal that's been put forward. To be clear, the proposal, the recommendation from this committee that worked for these last 2.5 months is to recommend a resolution to enact boundary, to enact this proposed boundary change. The technical details of the properties being swapped and associated maps will be delivered to Washington County, where is final approval of the recommendation. And the second half of this document describes the guiding principles that were used by the committee in evaluating the proposal and deciding whether it was ultimately in the best interest of the students, in the best interest of the mutual school districts, and the community involved. And so these are the guiding principles that were considered and the results of the evaluation by that committee. First item was safety and welfare of the students. The proposed change would positively impact the safety and welfare of all students. Second, the neighborhood, community, and/or geographic continuity. The proposed change would maintain continuity with existing and developing neighborhoods and cities. Item 3, prudent stewardship of public resources. The proposed change would create a more efficient expenditure of overall public resources. Item 4, school district facility capacity. The proposed change is one that each district's existing and planned facilities can accommodate. Community interest. Patrons and community members, leaders share and demonstrate interest in the proposed boundary adjustment. Next, the regional, local growth and development plans. The proposed change complements broader regional and local growth and development plans, including existing and projected adjustments to the urban growth boundary and city service plans for undeveloped areas. And finally, timeliness. The districts are consider this proposal when sufficient information was available to make the decision. Those are the guiding principles that led us through a long conversation involving all the issues at hand. In the final assessment, the recommendation was unanimous by all of the committee involved to move this resolution forward. It has been sent to both districts. Beaverton School District considered this resolution last night at their board meeting, and we're putting it up for first reading tonight for consideration, and both districts will take final action on it in their December meetings. Given that we've had some earlier extensive conversations on it, I would open it now to any other questions that the board would like to pose at this time. Seeing none.
But it just should be added that we shared a lot of our...
I will restate that we had an extensive discussion upstairs. That if you missed it, it was lots of fun, and it really was a good highlight to a long process that has resulted in this proposal. I appreciate the critical feedback given by this board in the review of the proposal, in addition to the critical feedback that we've gotten from the community and from other districts and the cities and county all involved. So it has been with deep consideration up to this point. The committee brought the resolution, and it was my job to present it here tonight. So,
just to feedback on that, if anybody wasn't at the work session or even here and is watching, those meetings are now audio recorded. So if anybody wants to listen to that discussion, they'll have the opportunity to do that in the future.
Very good. Okay. Thank you. Okay, sir. Thanks. No question for me.
It's more of a technical question for Val. So
Okay.
when that, how quickly does the audio tape become available?
Within the next day or two.
Oh, very quickly. And then it just goes on the website underneath the packet, right?
Under the board meeting
Under the
section.
board meeting packet.
Yeah, there's a link.
Okay.
Under the director's page where you can see the audio, there's a link, or the vision, there's a link to the audio.
Thank you.
Okay. See no further comment. We'll move on to our next agenda item, which is first reading for the 2016-2017 school calendar. And that is to Debbie.
Thank you very much. If you remember back on October 13th at the board work session, we actually had a first look at a proposed 16-17 district calendar, and the start date was after Labor Day. So after some discussion, the board had requested that we survey community, staff, parents to see if there is a preference on the start of school with Labor Day. And so thanks to Beth, she did a pretty comprehensive survey, put it out to our community, and we have the results. I believe the results were made available to you as a board. And so they include percentages of feedback and also quite a list of actual comments by the community. So I don't know if you had the opportunity to go through those or not, but I think that some of the comments can help us reach far past this calendar with some thoughts and ideas and values of the community. So basically, just to summarize the percentage, 58% of those who responded to the survey very much like starting after Labor Day. And 24% very much like starting before Labor Day. So there seemed to be a pretty strong preference by those who were surveyed for a start after Labor Day. And there are various reasons if you had the opportunity to read those comments. Comments around Oregon weather and how that impacts summers. Comments about work, about learning. There were a lot of comments that had some, the factors that people considered were, some of them did consider the history. Why change something that we've done for years and years and years? There seemed to be an importance on what our local community is doing and aligning with our local community. So That's generally those survey results. And I didn't know if you wanted to talk about those. I have had several questions from a board member also that I'd like to address and give some information around, actually, not the start of school, but the Thanksgiving break and those kinds of things. And so, you want to talk about the survey first, or you want me to go into the questions?
So we break it into two pieces. It seems like we've got the discussion of the start of year.
Yes.
And then the second discussion. Why don't we take questions on the start of year topic?
Just thank you for a really thorough survey. I appreciated that there was a lot of content given instead of just asking a question. I thought that was really thoughtful, so thank you.
No other issues with the start of year.
So we can move on to the whole Thanksgiving, the whole November, and questions that came up about that. And I'll tell you ahead of time, I don't necessarily have answers, but hopefully I'll give you some considerations or things that we should consider as we're thinking about making changes to the calendar. So one of the questions was, can we change the end of the quarter, the first quarter, to always be the Monday before Thanksgiving, followed by Tuesday parent conference, Wednesday staff development, and then Thanksgiving on Thursday and Friday. And so considerations that I think the board would want to think about in making that type of a decision is that we moved parent conferences to November. They used to be in October. So in 2013, we made that decision to move them later and have them in November so that it gave staff a longer time to get to know the students and know how the students were doing. So that was a deliberate decision to move it to November. So it hasn't always been in November on that. Conference attendance during the Thanksgiving week is a concern, and we reported that out to the board, and that's actually one reason why we don't have conferences during the week of Thanksgiving this year, is the data that we collected. And basically, well, the data we took was 13-14 compared to 14-15. 14-15 was when we had conferences Thanksgiving week, and this is conference data. So in 13-14, 95% of our elementary parents attended parent conferences. In 14-15, the week of Thanksgiving, it was 91%. If you remember when we reported back to you about this, the comments that were made was that teachers had a lot of calling to do outside of the conference period time to get it to that percentage because parents weren't showing up. So there were a lot of conferences that had to be scheduled outside of that time frame to get that percentage. For secondary in 13-14, we had 41% that went to parent conferences. And in 14-15, when conferences were that week of Thanksgiving, 34% attended the conferences. So that's just a little section.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, that part.
So, okay, and I can give this to you in writing also, if you would like that. In 13-14, 41% attendance for secondary parent conferences. In 14-15, which was when we had the week of Thanksgiving, it went down to 34%. Again, the comment that they really had to reach out to parents to reschedule some of these conferences to get to that level. So another question that we researched was, and thanks to Adam, is we wanted to pull just attendance data for the day before the Thanksgiving break. So this was an interesting feat because as I look back, since 11-12, we have had a budget reduction day the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So we've had it for pretty consistent years. So we went back to the Tuesday before the break when we looked at the attendance data. So, and I can give this to you in writing, but if you look at in November of 11, 91.8% student attendance. In November of 2012, 92.8%. In November of 2013, 93.7%. In November of 2014, that's when we had Thanksgiving, 84.5%. But you need to keep in mind that that was the Monday before of the week of Thanksgiving. Only secondary students went that day, on that Monday. And so we only had 80.5% attendance on that day. So as we think about the requests on how do we get maybe another day before Thanksgiving, and I know that Mrs. Britt had mentioned maybe putting a day before so we can extend the Thanksgiving. The things that we need to consider is work and grade prep and conference prep are all placed in relationship to each other. So as we look at possibly changing this around, we have some contractual requirements about grade prep, conference prep time, and how we sequence those in relation to the end of the quarter. So those are things that we'll have to think about as we want to maybe look at moving some days around in November. And if one of the questions was can we move that first quarter, the end of the first quarter till later? And you're right, that date is not set in stone. It's the semester number of days and hours versus the quarter. But what happens if you're going to move that quarter a lot later, the end of the quarter, it shortens the second part of the quarter for kids. And a lot of times when you have conferences right towards the end of the quarter for the grades, that it can impact your conferences, because students, if you have conferences a week or two after you've already done grades, students can change significantly their performance between that time and the conferences. So it's just that sequencing piece that you want to consider if we're going to be moving dates around in November. Let's see. Another question. Can the secondary PD day be in a different month or another high absentee day? And we can move PD days. We definitely can move PD days. I think what OSP probably wants to consider is the value of where you place them. So if you put some PD towards the end of the school year, it's probably not nearly as valuable as putting that up in that first quarter where staff can actually use and apply it throughout the year. And one of the strategies that we've applied when we've done the calendars is a value that the community has spoken to is, I don't necessarily want my elementary student to stay home when my secondary student goes to school. So we've really worked over the last couple of years to minimize half days, because that's been a community issue too, as well as secondary kids having school and elementary not having school. So part of the placement of those days has been to compensate, like this year. The reason that we put the secondary PD day there is because elementary doesn't have school. And so we paired those up so that no kids would have school that day. So parents aren't in that conundrum of, one of my children is going to go to school that day and the other one isn't. What am I going to do? So those are just considerations as you're placing days on the calendars. Let's see. What schedule would produce the best educational outcomes and meet teacher and community needs? That's a great question. I can give you considerations around that. Obviously, consistency of instruction is really important for good calendars. Consistency across levels for days off, I just talked about that. Having as much consistency as we can for our K-12 students with our families. Minimizing the student half days is really a big one. Contractual requirements, we definitely have contractual requirements for our licensed staff around their prep days and their conference prep and those kinds of things. And then that timing and sequence of events. When we have the sequence, an example is like grading, parent conferences, and conference prep days. So those are some considerations. I don't have answers, but considerations for the board as you think about this and the opportunities to rethink November.
Maybe did you address the Veterans Day issue?
Veterans Day, thank you, Mike. A question came up, can we just move Veterans Day, move our celebration for Veterans Day? So I did a lot of research on this. It's a national holiday, obviously, and it's November 11th. There aren't many holidays that are actually celebrated on the day anymore. They're moved to Mondays, but Veterans Day is nationally celebrated on November 11th. So, however, we can decide either not to celebrate it. We have the option as a K-12 school district to not celebrate it, and we also have the option to celebrate it on a different day if the district decides they want to have a different day off. But what we need to remember is contractually, our staff are due, all of them. It's a paid holiday for our staff. And I know that some other districts have considered celebrating Veterans Day on another day because it does become awkward when it's on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and how do you have school and continuity. But the backlash from community and veterans about not respecting the actual day of Veterans Day has been pretty great. And so all of our neighbors celebrate Veterans Day the holiday is on the 11th. All of our neighboring districts do currently do that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the information. I also, I mean, I can appreciate the concern, especially brought to us tonight, because, to really be thoughtful around this, because perception-wise, if you've heard from people, November is no school November, and that's a negative thing that you hear. So any opportunity that we can look at to really shorten that, and you know that, because when you look at the calendar in your face, it's 4 days, 2 days, 3 days, and I wonder if that is harder on families that are working to find daycare when everything is kind of, you know, split. I do believe first and foremost we talk about that school consistency. If you say that is a concern, it's not exactly a consistent school schedule. I'm thinking what is being asked or what is being proposed is, I'm assuming you're saying like the 21st would be that half day work day grade prep. I'm talking out loud.
Need to come before parent conferences.
And conferences would come the 22nd and 23rd. I'm one person. I'm just saying, talking out loud, because that's the business, how we do business is out loud. So that's why I'm just, I don't know if that's, you know, a possibility. I get the perception, I hear that, and, you know, so.
What was did you have a suggestion?
Is that what's being suggested,
So
or was there anything else?
I think the proposal is would be the calendar for next year. That's
No, I know this
going
is,
on.
but I'm saying the parent that came forth and shared her concerns, you know, is that what is being?
I believe she wanted the staff development day for the elementary and secondary schools to be, I think I heard her just say, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Right.
Where are they now?
Yeah. So right now, you've got, okay. So you've got one of them, the elementary right now is on I believe this is what she's talking about, is on October 6th.
Wait, where are we? No.
October 6th.
October 6th.
Okay, elementary staff development workday. I'm not sure if that's what she's referring to. Then we've got on November 9th, we've got the secondary staff development day on that.
I believe it's on the 10th and 11th. Sorry, no, next year the 11th is Veterans Day on Friday.
Yeah, so you have parent conferences, yeah.
So the days are split up, the 9th and 10th, and you're saying that that it's a development day for one of the
on the 9th is
crowd, but not the entire district.
Correct. On the 9th is secondary staff development, and I believe one of the reasons that we placed it there is that there's no school for elementary students, and so we paired those two so there would be no school for all students. That's one reason why we placed a PD day there.
There's no good answers.
I know.
And especially, I've stared at this too, and with a floating Veterans Day from year to year, you'd like to be able to make a calendar, because all parents stare at November here and just think it's crazy from an educational standpoint to try to enter a month in which virtually no week has a normal schedule, and that's a tremendous. Speaking as a parent, that's a tremendous impact on students, and so that's why a lot of discussion, a lot of questions are about kind of outside the box thinking that would allow a more balanced approach, focus days on times when there's least impact on students, and my interest in the past month has really been a discussion to make sure that we've had conversations rather than acting out of habit, because in fact our habit for the past, as you noticed, 4 years or so has been to to not be in class on that day that we suspect is significantly impacted by typical holiday activities.
And you know, we could do a non-contract day on the 23rd, the day, I mean, if one of our goals is to extend Thanksgiving. What that would do, though, if we extend the school year one day, and so students would end on a Monday. So that's a downside to that piece.
And that's no better for
Yeah.
all plans on the other side. So I don't know the answer. I don't.
Lisa has her hand.
Oh.
Her hand is first. I can wait for her.
Lisa.
Oh, so I'm trying to figure this out a little bit. So on October 6th, it's no school elementary staff development work day. So
Yes.
does that mean that our secondary students 7 through 12 are in session as usual that day?
Yes.
So maybe I just misunderstood. I'm totally not on the same page as everybody, but could we not just instead have school on October 6th, unless maybe there's a reason why we can't do PD for both on the same day, and then have school for secondary on November 9th, do elementary conferences on November 9th, so no school for elementary, and then have no school for anybody on Wednesday the 23rd, and have that be PD for elementary and secondary, and then we're not moving conferences, and we're giving people more time for Thanksgiving than for Veterans Day, which seems to make more sense for, society in general and what we tend to do for those various holidays. Could you do that?
I want to sit down.
Yeah.
We can definitely draft that out and see. I don't want to say, oh yeah, we can do that because like it's a calendar.
I don't even understand all what I just said either. I'm trying to.
I hear what you're saying.
My overriding idea, it's wonderful that we're planning early. I think that was the biggest request that came from last year, was that we're contemplating changes, that now is the perfect time for these kind of discussions, so that we can address calendar issues as early as possible and with thought put into it. So I'm grateful for the extra thought put into a calendar early.
And we could draft something out like that and kind of see how that falls on that, and then get it out to you ahead of time to take a look at. Does that make sense?
If there's, I think if in your judgment in the end of the analysis, there's an alternative that you would reasonably recommend, that you think values the community and the teachers and staff here, that you could put that forward as an alternative for the vote.
Well, likewise, that if you really feel
Right,
like
exactly.
you have looked at this and this is, that be able to speak up to that as well.
I think this group will be happy to know that you looked at it with concern for the issues and make a recommendation that will entertain that.
I'd be happy to do that.
Kim.
So I just wanted to be clear that we don't want to monkey with the October non-contractual day. While we don't pay staff to go to PD, it is a statewide in-service day where there's opportunities for them to learn that I wouldn't want to see go away. When my high school was complaining about no school November, it's all how you think about it. Just because you're not sitting at a desk learning doesn't mean there's not something valuable and educational happening. It's very important for our teachers to grade, have parent conferences, and there's great value in that. There's more value in that some days than direct contact, and I just don't want to lose sight of that. School only means that you're sitting and getting something. It also is an opportunity for your teachers to do better and to have open communication with families, and I want to make sure we keep that time protected, and so we should be proud of having protected time for that, whether it's academic seminar or conferences, and conferences are valuable.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have support services annual report.
Each fall, the support services team, which consists of our facilities and maintenance crews, our school nutrition program, and our transportation department, provide the board with a report detailing all of the stuff that happened during the last school year. I'm happy tonight to be able to introduce Casey Wallet-Hitch, who heads up our Facilities and Maintenance Department, Carol Hatfield, our Transportation Director, and Cindy Longley with our School Nutrition Program. They have provided you with lots of facts and figures and numbers about what they were able to accomplish this last year. I don't want to read all of that to you, but I have them all here and ready to answer questions if we have any. So we can go into as much detail or as little as the board would prefer.
Monty?
You know what my question is. What happened to nutrition services? $800,000.
Yeah, we had an $800,000 reduction in our ending fund balance in school nutrition. I did provide a board update on what happened there, and it was kind of a perfect storm of several different factors. One was that we implemented some programs. One of them was juice program at lunch that cost money. Our food costs were higher than we had anticipated. What were some of the other factors?
Are these all mandated?
No. In fact, the juice at the lunch program is no more. It was gone shortly, as soon as we got the audited figures back.
Estimate for commodities, the USDA gave us $150,000 less to purchase food.
The bottom line is we have about a $400,000 carryover in our school nutrition program, and it's still a break-even program. It's not costing the district money, which is not unheard of, but is very rare in public schools. So we still can be proud of the fact that we have that program. The challenge is going to be, obviously we can't lose $800,000 a year. So we've implemented a program where we're meeting on a regular basis to review monthly revenues and expenditures. We're feeling good about, last year was the first year of the new CEP program at 9 of our elementary schools. And we have seen a significant increase in participation this year as opposed to last year, so we think that's going to be a big help.
And you'll need to describe what CEP is.
It's
Cindy's
the
going.
community eligibility program that USDA offered last year. And there's actually 14 schools that are in that program.
Basically, it means that if your student population matches a certain threshold, all students in that building are eligible for free meals, as opposed to having a free, reduce, and a paid program. So we're feeling that between the changes we've made in eliminating the juice at the high school level, the commodity program, our indirect cost piece, and the increase in participation at these other schools, that at least at this point in the year, we're back into the black, and that we shouldn't see that moving forward.
So CEP is reimbursed by the fed?
Yes, yes. It's a per meal reimbursement.
And so the extra costs don't, I don't know how that program expands, whether we include more schools in that, but are we at risk if more schools become
It's a choice that we have. We don't have to make any more schools eligible. In fact, we have the option at the end of this year of deciding the program's just not working for us. So we'll revisit that, but at this point, we don't intend to bring any more schools online with that program. I'm not sure we have any more schools that would be eligible at this point.
But that program is being successful or not being a detriment to the overall.
Correct.
And if I remember right, the number of students who don't receive free reduced lunch who are purchasing lunch, that number dipped in the number of people who are buying lunch. And I'm just wondering, I think there's a perception if you're a parent, you don't go to a cafeteria, you don't know what food is there and how much it has changed even in the last couple of years. I'm just wondering if there's a way to market that at a back to school night or something where you set up food in a school and parents actually get to see what is served. I know when the healthy guidelines were changing at my elementary school, this was many years ago, and parents were concerned about what the food was, they actually brought in people from the nutrition department who walked through the program and what the federal guidelines were, and they served samples of food. And when people realized, like, the number one thing you buy are those 50-pound bags of Bob's whole grain, and how high quality it was, I think it increased the number of students who chose to purchase lunch.
We did that at one school this year at Patterson. The cafeteria employees were there with set up salad bar for them. And then every year for the past 3 or 4 years, the kindergarten roundup that we had over at Lincoln, we fed them perfect and the students to kind of promote our program.
Good. It's cool. We eat there. It's really great.
Jenny?
Mine's just kind of just a piggyback on that. I mean, it'd be great if we could have those visuals on each school website, because I can't go on enough about Tobias salad bar. So when people see that, you know, you can talk about it and you can say, oh, it's so, but when they see it, that's a different story. So to really be able to make that connection with people that, oh, I'm going to the Tobias website and I see that, and wow, that's, you know, that's what they're serving. So, Tobias.
Okay, so my question was actually more on the My Bus program. You mentioned in our packet here that that's from our website, our district website. I guess more kind of a comment than so much of a question. To be honest, I haven't used it myself, but I've had some feedback that wasn't exactly user-friendly experience last year. Is that something that we programmed, or is that a commercial product that we use, or is there a way to kind of tweak that?
For My School Bus?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a commercial product that we use.
Okay.
I think the last 5 years.
Isn't it Bucks? It's Bucks, right?
Yeah, My School Bus.
Well, there's a My School Bus, and then there's a My School Bus.
Yeah, that's what I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. That's what I was like, I remember using, but it was called Bucks back then.
I do have first-hand experience with the My School Bucks,
Yeah.
and that does work very well.
Especially when you see what your middle schoolers and high schoolers are eating.
Yes.
Cream cheese pretzels, really?
Yes. No, the bus ride, actually.
The bus.
The bus.
You know, this was our first year to do the electronic routing information system instead of doing mailers for everybody. So, you know, I think this year, it's sort of like no matter how well you plan, you always come in little hiccups. And we did have some at the beginning. One thing that we realized is that parents, especially at the elementary level, did not understand where their student ID number was. So I think, you know, overall, I hope that the system, I mean, the feedback we're getting at transportation in front of schools is that it's now people are kind of getting the hang of it and getting into it. But I would love to hear, you know, more about, you know, if you have tried it and if anybody's still experiencing some difficulties with it. Definitely. And also, we still sent mailers out to our title schools to try and help with that too. So overall, I think it's settling down and we're getting into it, but please, if anybody, you know, is still feeling like it's not working correctly, please let us know.
Since you mentioned that you're still sending mailers out to the title schools, can a parent opt out of your My Bus and just go back to the old paper if they want to do that?
You know, at this point, we have not allowed that just simply because of the way the system runs off. It's hard to pick out individuals. And the idea is that eventually, as we get more and more into the system, is that it will all be electronic. And some of the feedback we got from parents and communities, we're having a huge number of parents wanting to know why they can't get it electronically, which is why we went after it. Not only is it a cost saver, but we really just jumped into it this fall and went with it. So right now we have not even explored it. You know, people can opt out. And that was something we have to really research and look, because I think in the system, the way it pulls off, that could be a hiccup.
The only reason I ask is the person, the feedback that I've got, much like Wayne, won't mention names, but is a non-IT person. And the experience didn't go well. I just leave it at that. But we muddled through it.
And we understand that, and we expect that because it is, anytime you do something new, and especially with this, what we have discovered is people who call transportation will walk them through it. I know a lot of the schools, they have been fabulous about helping parents and walking them through it to get it. And by all means, please, if you have a parent that's still struggling, send them our way, and we'll help walk them through it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
You bet.
I just pulled it up so people could see what we're talking about. I just did a guest login for a third grader that would be living at my address, which, I don't have any third graders living at my address, which is good. But it just shows how the system generates the school that student would go to.
Where their bus stop.
My question was, is it because we ask that our parents look on Parent View and everything, is there a way to have a link on our Parent View so that if you're on your page, you can click on that and then do this? Rather than having...
Actually, that has been brought up, and I know that Don Wolf is working on something that will pull it in so it's all in one place.
So there's two aspects. Do you mind me chiming in? There's two aspects to that, because one of the things we're trying to do is bring in the bus routes in so teachers, so all the staff has all of those, so it's a little more automated process. The other piece is trying to get this to present in Parent View like this, or it's just a link and fade, which is the best way to go for that. This in Parent View, there's some heavy lifting to that. Having just a link in Parent View as resources, and we're working on that resources tab to my school bus, to my thoughts, IHSD is a pretty straightforward thing, but there's conversations about that to make sure everybody's aware of what's going on with that. So there's two phases that we're looking at right now and working on.
I just think that parents appreciate not having to.
Yeah. Okay, any other thoughts?
My compliments to the safety program. I'm looking at the workman's comp experience rating.
Oh, we're getting to the risk management piece, but yes, that's...
Very nice.
Yes. Casey's feeling left out.
Okay, so Adam, how much of you've got these three items here? Are we covering all of these right now? Is that what's
I wanted to bring up the local wellness assessment piece. We are literally in the midst right now of an, I don't know, it's not called an audit, it is called an audit.
State, yes, it's ODE administrative review.
Administrative review. So we've had people in 2 of our buildings today, they'll be in 2 more of our buildings tomorrow, auditing our full program. As a part of that, they also look at all of our district policies, and one of the things that we're required to have is a local wellness policy, a local wellness program, and then an assessment of our local wellness program. So we've never presented the board, we've never had an assessment of our wellness policy. So this is the tool we will be using to assess our local wellness program, and we can now present this to the review team and say, yes, our board has seen this and it's part of our documentation. The third piece was the annual risk management report. I had hoped to have Leah McCarthy, our new risk manager, here tonight just to introduce her more than anything. She was not able to be here, but I will bring her to a future board meeting. As Monty pointed out, lots of good news in terms of our accidents, both student and staff accidents, just in sheer numbers. Claims are down, premiums are down, really good information. I'll give you on the last page, page 26, where we have the experience rating. We're down to a 0.8 experience rating on our workers' comp. That's going to go up next year, just so you know. And that has to do, they've looked back for 3 years at our experience over the last 3 years. We have one very low experience rating falling off, and we've got one coming on that's going to be a little bit higher. So we'll probably go up into the 0.88 range, something like that. Still below the 1.0, which is the average for our industry. So still good news, not as good as it could be. But the premium went from $780,000 last year on a $110 million payroll to $672,000 this year on a $116 million payroll. So payroll went up, costs went down, good stuff.
Okay. Any other comments, Brad? Okay, we will move on. We are.
I need one more minute. I mentioned that Cindy has been heading our lunch program for 19 years now. Cindy's going to be leaving us this next spring, and I wanted to take an opportunity to thank her for 19 years of great service to the school district, and make sure that the board had a chance to recognize her and thank her for all those years.
Well, what can we do to keep her to stay home?
I don't think you're going to do it. I tried already.
Thank you, Sandy. Carol, only 14 years to go.
No pressure. Okay, Mike, you're up.
All right, very good. As you know, we're in the 5th year of our strategic plan, and we have committed to providing a summary regarding our progress from the strategic plan 3 times a year. So we've got our cabinet members ready to go that are going to just walk through the high level of the strategic plan, and then any questions that you might have.
Who's up?
Travis, you're up.
All right, I got it. So in terms of our instructional goals for this quarter update, we kind of synthesize this down. How much time do we have for this report?
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
So this is brief. It's on the website. It's in written form. Okay. So pare down what you were going to say.
Well, okay, I'll pare it down. In terms of our PLC goals, we developed a rubric and made it.
All right, thank you, Travis.
Thank you. We're looking at improving the use of data to drive instructional practices. So right now we have our PLC leadership teams using a rubric to assess baseline data that will take a poll again in the spring to measure and then measure the growth of how our PLCs use data to drive instructional practices. In terms of our goals in math, closing the achievement gap, we're focusing on creating common assessments that teachers use across our system to measure the growth of students, and what we anticipate is raising achievement scores for our SBAC math data across the board, but we're going to go for an 8% growth in our underserved group of students, especially our English language learners, which has been a target for us for several years. We're also focusing on aligning instructional practices across our district, including pattern practices. So Grant and Ted have done a lot of work to align what principals are looking for in classrooms as they do walkthroughs, and they've developed a tool that brings principals in line for calibrating what they see when they go into a classroom, and then measuring the implementation of specific instructional practices that they've all agreed on. So we'll come back at the end of the year and report back on our growth in terms of student achievement, the use of data in PLCs, and the instructional practices K-12.
So I apologize, I'm somehow stuck over here. But for engagement, some of our big stuff this fall has been our community-based advertising that we've talked to the board about before. We've had some billboard ads up. We've still got 2 billboard ads up, which is awesome. Every time I drive up TV Highway and back, I'm very excited to see excuse me, pictures of our students with great big wonderful messages about our schools. We had about a 6-week-long installation on 6 bus benches around town, talking all about attendance. Attendance is a really big push for us this year because it has such a direct correlation to students' successful outcomes in school. And the earlier you set good attendance habits, the better that is for you. So we've completed our fall round of coffee chats, which were great. We had our first Spanish language coffee chat just 2 weeks ago, and that was extremely well attended. There were well over 50 people there. Got some really great feedback and some action items that we're going to be following up on with them. And just continue to work hard to engage the community. This morning we had our big first ever State of the Schools Summit, and this room was kind of transformed into a lovely space where we had a lot of students involved in showcasing their talents and skills, and exposed some community members who aren't typically involved with us to all the great things we're doing here in the district. So those are some of our highlights.
Can we see copies of what you're getting from the copy chat? Summaries?
I take notes at all of them. They're pretty raw right now, but I could send them to you. You can sit through them. But from the summit, we're going to type up formal notes from that for sure. So.
Just a quick question on the billboards. How much longer are they going to be up?
What's great about the ones that are up right now is they're static billboards, and so as long as there's nobody who comes along who really wants those spaces, who's going to pay for them, they'll stay up as long as they can until the next paying person comes along. So, and that's the same thing with the bus benches. They're just staying until something else comes along. With digital, they get swapped out pretty fast, but we are going to renew our ask to see if we can once again get complimentary space based on our nonprofit status. So we'll try to see if we can get some more for the spring. So
I guess I missed that. So these billboards are in a different spot on TV Highway than the electronic one was.
yeah, they're close. All 4 installations were along TV Highway, but the current one, there's one kind of at 13th and TV Highway, and then there's one further up facing west. That one's facing east. There's one facing west that's closer up by like Little Cooperstown and Tough Shed and all that, which is where the digital chevron style built.
I saw that. Okay, thanks. I'll go look.
Yeah.
So in the area of facilities, we had 2 focus areas. One was on long-range planning, and our action items there were to participate in the boundary adjustment exploration process with Beaverton School District, and you've heard lots of information about that. It's been a very interesting process to be a part of. Then we have continued to use our long-range planning committee. We've had 2 meetings. We have our 3rd meeting of the school year Thursday, where we will be meeting with Frank Angelo, who is a consultant we're going to be working with to help us consolidate all of the information we've gathered over the last 3+ years, and help us to put it into a format that is something that we can present to the board, and ultimately will be kind of the basis for our bond campaign moving forward. So really excited to start that process with Frank. The only other update I have is that we have contracted with Portland State University to update our enrollment projection report, and that will be completed in probably February of this year.
In the area of equity, we have our 3 focus areas, which are professional development, inclusive educational and work environments, and diversified workforce. And what we've accomplished so far is that we've expanded, we're still working on expanding and creating the new service delivery model. We hope to be rolling that out within the next month. We have extensive expansion of taking it up, our professional development taking it up, and we're really excited that we're getting a lot of interest from our staff in continuing to participate in taking it up and getting a lot of positive feedback from that. Under inclusive educational work environments, we're continuing to support the equity work that we're doing in the schools. We are partnering with more universities. We're actually partnering to get a special ed endorsement program back, which is very valuable to us as we look at areas of recruitment and retention of our workforce. Our bilingual teacher pathways program, we continue to be very successful at recruiting our current classified employees to become future teachers, and they're bilingual, bicultural candidates. We have 5 new candidates this year who are entering into the program, so we're really excited about that. It's really become a great pathway for us to grow your own, so to speak. And it's a draw for our classified employees who come to this district because so that they know that they have opportunities to learn and grow in Hillsboro School District. So it's becoming a really good recruitment tool for us also on that. We had a classified job fair, and this was for our recent HSD grads, and that was unique and extremely fun to talk to our grads, not just about jobs outside of the school district, but about jobs that they can have in the school district, maybe while they're going to school, those types of things, or when they're transitioning and not sure what they want to do. Letting them know all the different kinds of opportunities that we have in Hillsboro School District. I think many people don't realize the breadth of jobs that we offer in this district. So this was a really nice opportunity, and we're going to continue to do that with our current high school grads. We find that it's going to be very effective in not only expanding our workforce, but opportunities for our students in that. And yes, some of you.
Fall's a very busy time in the safety world. We are on track with our anti-bullying and harassment campaign. I will say with a little bit of my job shift, I've relied on our counselors, Brooke Nova and our climate culture TOSA, are working more closely with our middle schools on that work. But they've developed a plan, they have identified some building needs to take that work. We don't have the student numbers like we did at the high school, so we're having to have some more leadership at the school. So we're working through that right now and developing and working with each middle school on how that campaign is going to look and go forward. So there will be more to report on that once we get a little bit further into the fall. With the safety, things are going really well. We held our August Safety Summit, which is a great tool for training our principals and buildings on all things safety. We had a leadership meeting in October where we went over some specific things with our buildings as far as expectations for preparing to address an incident at a school, making sure that we're on track for communicating incidents. Also reviewing our strike teams, which is a building team of folks that if something were to happen and first responders couldn't get there, we have kind of all of our bases covered to manage the students in the building and the staff and the parents that come in. And then we're big into compliance in the fall. So all of our schools have submitted their safe school plans, which basically identifies how they're going to handle everything safety within their building. All of our drill compliance is on track. All of our staff training to make sure we're compliant with our policy reviews, et cetera. So really working well to make sure we're all ready for the rest of the school year. Doing well in this.
No, I was just going to say, Cindy and Carol, would you go home? You work the 6 a.m. shift, so don't feel like you have to sneak out, please.
Just for a few.
Oh,
I need Cindy for.
So close.
We have a policy that she needs to talk to us about, so you can go.
Okay, next up, got Adam again.
Yeah, so you have this month's finance report. As I mentioned to you last month, be careful when you look at the year-to-date information this year as compared to last year. Because of the timing of this month's meeting and the fact that we're early in the month and we had to have all of our information in for this board packet early, we're basically a full month behind in both revenues and expenditures. So just know that we're not really $50 million behind in our collections. This report doesn't reflect the first November tax collections, which November's our big month, and the same with expenditures. So I'm happy to answer any questions regarding any components of the report. It's going to look very similar in December too, because we're reporting on November actuals on the 1st or on the 8th of December, which means we have to get everything to Val by,
Before the end of November.
before the end of November, so payroll may or may not be posted. So it's going to look similar next month.
Okay. No other questions? We will go on to policy first reading. We have Debbie Casey yet?
Oh, no, Casey.
Or
So we have two policies here tonight, and they're somewhat interrelated. And so House Bill 2546 amends the laws regarding the sale of tobacco products to minors and the use, distribution, and possession of tobacco products by minors. And there have been some changes, and a lot of those changes are around inhalant delivery system. Inhalants are kind of the new thing. Smoking, vaporizing, those types of things. So what we've done is, based on some recommendations from OSBA, is we've modified and switched out some of the information between one board policy and the other, and I'll kind of walk you generally through some of the major changes that we made as we put this up for review. So if we start with GBEC, and that's drug-free workplace. Some of the language in this includes language from the former board policy GBK, and also the GBED-AR, which has to do with transportation employees. That's kind of one reason Carol's here. She wants to hear about how this is impacting the transportation employees here. And also we've incorporated OSBA recommendations. So I'm just going to generally walk you through some of the changes. This is going to apply to all employees, including employees of contractors. So that's some new broad language around it. This is definitely going to cover employees. Under number 1, the addition of following conduct is strictly prohibited. This basically is giving notice to employees that what the consequences could be for violating this board policy. And then if you look at A, it just includes the broader intoxicants. It's doing a broader definition of what this board policy is going to be covering.
Okay. Do you want a question per section, or would you want us to just hold till the end till you review everything?
Let's do per section.
okay.
I have a question on that one. How do we address, or is this in here addressed about grow farms? So if it says in here, you're unlawfully manufactured by, sell, transport, but what about if you own a farm that is a pot farm?
Right, meeting all the legal conditions.
And so
Well,
is there...
you meet all the legal conditions of that, since marijuana is legal in...
Right.
Yes.
So that is
illegal, yeah. And this is going to be the interesting pieces as we have legalized marijuana now. And so I'll point out a couple of things in this policy that's going to hopefully help us manage this and kind of wade our way through this. We're actually, we've gotten some recent training on identifying under the influence, we being supervisors and HR, and then we're meeting with HPD with their drug person next week, we being HR, to talk to them further about drug use, marijuana, kind of what they're learning about the new laws and the applications on that. So if it's legal, like a legal grow, it's legal. Yeah, they can't be at work under the influence. Even if marijuana is legal, it's like alcohol. You cannot be under the influence at work. And so that's why there's some language in here, some new language on page 35 of this that talks about reasonable suspicion, and it gets pretty direct about what reasonable suspicion is. And it also talks about that we are going to have a checklist. So if those of us that are trained, get a call from an administrator that they believe somebody might be under the influence at work. So one of us that's actually trained will go out there, one or two of us, with a checklist that will check off what we're actually observing, and that's new in the policy. And that's something that we really want and need to infuse into our process so that we actually have a record of what we actually observe and why we believe that they're under the influence, and that would trigger us to send them for a drug test.
So my question is, it's one thing to grow what's legally allowed. It's another thing, certainly the presence of it on campuses is certainly online. But my question is more about, call it advocacy, and whether that runs contrary to our district philosophy. And even advocacy for doing it legally of age, but in a school environment, is that appropriate activity? Even though the growing of it may be legal and not actionable, is the reference to it, the advocacy, there's a whole set of degrees of the staff member doing it, to making it aware that it's happening, to speaking about it, to embracing it fully and vocally in ways that, where are we as a district policy on the kind of the advocacy spectrum of
It's the same as alcohol.
not allowed?
It is the same as alcohol, so they, we don't allow staff to come to school with a T-shirt with a beer can on it or with Budweiser or something like that, and we wouldn't allow them to come with marijuana leaf on their T-shirt either on that, and we would assume, we would expect that they are not going to be advocating for drinking alcohol to minors, those kinds of things. So it's still illegal for all of our students under 18.
Yeah, it wasn't about even advocating the actions of the students doing it while under 18, not advocating something that's illegal, but simply advocating of the, I don't, maybe we can draw parallels of advocacy of legal drinking or advocacy of legal smoking. It seemed like there was a boundary or a district policy regarding advocacy. You give me the eyes like that.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's not. So I
don't know
maybe
about
I'm not thinking
advocacy.
something.
You might be referring to the Oregon Revised Statute, the ethical educator, and kind of these boundaries that are in place.
Does it meet? I thought we had conversations about, does behavior match the standards of the standards and values of the teacher in the community, and how that's impacted.
Well, and I think Debbie's parallel with alcohol is a good one. If we had a staff member that was promoting, all the good, the values of drinking, or however that would go, I think we would step in and have a conversation about that and come to some conclusion.
We're talking about partying, like I went out drinking last night with my buddies. Well, I smoked a bunch of marijuana last night.
That would not be appropriate.
Would be this, it's not appropriate.
But if they owned a part of a liquor store, you can't do anything about it.
No.
Right.
That's right. So that's what our attorney continues to talk to us about, is it's as if it's alcohol. That's how we have to think about it that way on that. So we've got the new language that we're putting in here about, on page 35 on my copy, just the reasonable suspicion and what we would typically observe in that, and then creating a written record of it. So that's we believe that's a really good addition to the policy and a good addition to our process that we're going to be implementing there. On the next page, on 36, one of the changes under notice to employees is that we're including this. We realized that the language that we had in there was really not what we were doing. We actually are giving notice of the dangers of drug and alcohol use, all those kinds of things, through our annual policy review. So that's why we've changed the language there to actually match our practice, to make sure that that's how we're giving this notice.
Time to go.
Sign this out.
And then just added this, the language down here about our employee assistance program and leave for participation in abuse assistance rehab programs. Questions on that one?
Nope.
Okay. So then the next one is GBK, and it's prohibited use, possession, distribution, or sale of tobacco products and inhalant delivery systems. So this, actually, the change in this is to move some of the language over to the other. You'll see the strikeouts in this are moving them to the other policy we just went over, and then to address the inhalants and tobacco products in this one. So you'll see, the addition of inhalant delivery systems in the language here. And this policy now also applies to students and members of the public. That was added to this policy. And then basically the strikeouts on the second page, remove those to GDDC, the language to GDDC, and added some language that OSBA had recommended for us about disciplinary action, and it's basically giving notice about the consequences of violating the board policy. Questions on these? These are really important policies for, I know, for HR, for us to be able to have a pretty comprehensive policy that we can put back to as we're dealing with some of these issues. So I think this one's a good one. It adds a lot of, I think, information that will be helpful for us in implementing some of these procedures.
Thank you. You have a question?
No, just a real quick comment before we leave the subject. You know, this is an area I think that has been pretty controversial, you know, the conflicts between federal and state law. I just appreciate the amount of effort and time you guys are putting in to kind of sort out what's legal and what's ethical. You know, because those are two different things. I mean, you know, we've had some, at least on a board level, those who went through the OSBA conferences have had, you know, I think different messages and whatnot come through of how where that line is, and so I just appreciate the work you're getting in there. It's a tough one. You know, I understand that it's legal on a state level, but it's not, you know, it's like we just made the comment that it was, if someone owns a liquor store, then, you know, but it seems different to me if it's owning a pot farm, even though it's probably not. So, but anyway, I appreciate your working through it.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have another policy, JHCD, Lane.
Hello, I have with me tonight Denise Sines, who is one of our district nurses, and if you have questions on either of these policies, she's definitely the person to ask that. I'm not a nurse, so I wanted to make sure we had good advice. Why don't we go ahead and start with JHCD. These are medication administration policies, and so JHCD is the non-prescription medication administration policy, and so there's nothing too different in here that we are already doing. Kind of the main points of this policy are that there's a requirement for written permission from the parent, and if the student wants to bring medication to school, and the student must be trained on how to administer that medication. There's rules about storage of medication, and we do have a self-administration medication form, which I brought if you'd like to see it, so if you need an example of that. That's a pretty short policy. That's the first one, JHCD. Do you have any questions on that one?
Okay, well, just really quickly, what kind of training would they require? Like, for instance, I know a lot of kids, they'll keep aspirin or whatever just because of, you know, migraines that they get regularly. You don't need a lot of training to do that, but
No.
you have to fill out a form in order to tell everyone you're going to do it.
Exactly, and we also tell them they can only carry 1 day's dose on them, so they have to have a small travel bottle, and they can't share it with other kids. And it can be revoked at any time if they do. So it's really more of a stating of our policy, and the training kind of comes into effect with prescription medications like inhalers, epinephrine, and things like that.
So this includes self-administering and self-caring.
Yes.
Of that.
Yes.
Gee.
I was curious if this has to be in written form, or if this is something that you can, as a parent, have something on Parent View that says, I'm giving permission, I'm allowing my child, and something, or is it something that you legally have to have a signature? And if so, is it something that can go in, you know how parents get a packet? And so it's just automatically in there, or is it something they have to request? Because maybe there might be some parents that don't realize that is a necessity.
Yeah, and so, you know, we don't have any, we do have a written form called a medication authorization form, and it does have to be filled out every year by the parent, giving us permission or allowing them to self-carry.
I often will, if the parent can't come to school, I'll email them the form and they can scan it back to me. So I find ways to kind of help assist, because especially at the high school level, it's difficult to get it. But at the elementary, it's usually no problem, and the parents come in and fill out the forms and fine. And we just like to have that signature. We need to have it. I think it might be a state requirement to get permission to be able to administer medication. Pretty sure.
Okay, so the next policy is JHCBA, so that's prescription medication. So a couple minor things on here. One was that first aid training and CPR kind of went from recommended to strongly recommended. It was briefly required, and then that changed, and now it's strongly recommended. Health protocols are required for students, and we regularly do those. Permission from parents and instructions from the physician are, of course, required for any prescription medication that's going to be administered. One change is that EpiPens are now, if we have an EpiPen and a staff believes somebody is in need of using that EpiPen, and a staff might not be exactly trained on it, they still are protected if they go and use that EpiPen. Like if somebody looks like they're going to anaphylactic shock or something like that from a bee sting, say, or something. So it's kind of a good Samaritan kind of clause in there. And then the last major change is just that if we have a student that moves in from out of state, previously we've had to have physician orders from in Oregon to administer any kind of medication at school, and now there's a 90-day waiting period that's allowed where if somebody moves in from Colorado, we could have the Colorado doctor's orders work for us until the family was able to find a local physician. So, and Denise was telling me a little bit earlier today that primarily pertains to our students who use insulin on a regular basis who are diabetic.
Go ahead.
Just on that specific provision about the doctor being from out of state. So is that a state law that it has to be an in-state doctor, or is that our policy? Because, I mean, in my way of thinking, I get the doctors are licensed in each state, but that's a pretty basic thing, you know?
Yeah, it's a state requirement
Okay.
that they just changed and allowed the 90 days for us to use them.
That kind of answers it, because I just think in the world of electronic records, if there was a way, but if you're saying they still have to, electronic or not, it still has to be.
Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our reports and discussion. We would now take a motion for the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
And I will second that.
The motion has been made by Eric and seconded by Glenn to approve the consent agenda. Are there questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? That motion carries. And we are to reports, HCO and HEA.
Good evening. So last week was a conference week, and teachers met with many families for conferences. They covered the importance of attendance, how we work to create an environment conducive to learning, and of course, how their students are doing in their subject areas. And I guess the only comment I would make is that we're looking forward to the time when we have smaller classes and more time to talk to those families.
So I just wanted to share two things. First was sort of a personal one. I really enjoyed listening to the discussion about the school boundaries because it makes a gigantic difference in people's lives and what school district they go to. I was looking at the map where the South Hillsboro, where that swap is, and I noticed that my wife's parents' house is about a half mile from the border with Beaverton, and if that line was a little bit different another way, I never would have met her. Would have completely changed my life. So, because we met in high school, so it's kind of like... I like her. So I just wanted to share that it is, these lines matter, and where they are important, and I'm really glad that we have a school board who takes such a big care. Like it's so important that they realize the impact that this is going to have on people's lives moving forward. The other thing I wanted to bring about is that classified folks are not really, like, I hear a lot of, one of the things I hear in schools and from other people that they equate classified and licensed, like you're exactly the same, you operate the same way, you all govern by the same rules, but, or you have the same needs. And I just want to make sure that I clarify for everyone that we're different groups. You know, we work together, we both are educators in the classroom, we both are all committed to the success of all students. But when it comes to classified, one of the things that we lack and that we miss is direct communication with our supervisors. Usually when we go in and talk to our supervisors, it's whenever we're in trouble or having an evaluation. With licensed folks, they're constantly meeting with their supervisors to talk about curriculum, to talk about student achievement, and there's a lot of like observations and evaluations to try and help them get going. I talked to a lot of people like media assistants who, you know, I asked them, when was the last time a principal came and just sort of looked at what your library is doing, or what your life is like and how things are going. Just asking how are things going, and it's rare. Some of them see them all the time. There's some who say, I've never been here 10 years and I've never had a conversation with my principal that wasn't about evaluations or discipline. And it sort of floored me. So I challenge every principal out there to go talk to your classified folks and just ask, how are things going? What can we do to make your work life better? What are we doing good? Because there's a lot of stuff out there that people need help and they're not 100% comfortable coming and talking to their supervisors about it. So, but a lot of them like their supervisor, and it's weird because it's like, I love my supervisor, but I never talk to him. And it's like, okay, it does make sense, but I think it's a tough job and it's hard work that we do every day, and I'm really appreciative of everybody involved who does their very best to make sure our students have the best education they can. So, thank you.
Mike?
I'll make mine super quick. First of all, thanks to those folks that were able to come to the summit this morning. Had a great time. I thought it was a great event for us. Special thanks to Beth, who did most of the planning. No, okay, she did all of the planning. So thank you for all of your efforts to make that a great event. Appreciate it. Very nice. And the only other thing I'd mention is that we had a great community session over at Sunset Garden Apartments last week. And the participation that we had and the number of parents that we had coming to that meeting and expressing their concern, it was great. And it was, we had translators there, and it was a very engaging process and very worthwhile event. So just wanted to express my appreciation for the parents that showed up to that event. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. We'll board time. Start down there, Eric.
Nothing to add.
I'll just ditto, the summit was awesome. I really enjoyed it, and it was fun to see a different kind of activity in this room. And had the opportunity to go to the OSBA conference over the weekend, and I haven't formally processed all of my notes, but it's always just refreshing to connect with your fellow board members that you can just share a meal and have a conversation, and also with the broader perspective of people all around the state. And saw some really cool, heard about some pretty cool things happening around the state.
I too wanted to thank Beth and all who are involved with the Education Summit. It's always great when you're able to be around the table and really hear different perspectives as to needs, desires, ideas, and people felt really comfortable in giving those. And so I look forward to more in the future, and I just think it's a great way for us to build those community relationships. So I think I saw some eyes opening to some things that they didn't realize. So I look forward to talking or working with Travis on presenting our trip that we went on to Texas. In the 7 years that I've been on the school board, I haven't gone on a conference, so to speak, but I was really drawn to the idea about this early college high school for students. And I love and I'm so passionate about the work that our district is doing in career and college readiness, that I'm just really pathways, the career and college pathways. And so I was excited to learn more about it. And, you know, I wanted to give kudos to Travis's leadership in that. Being someone that joined this group as a non-educator, I was a little bit nervous, you know, because I was feeling like the uncool kid on this, but they really brought me into the conversations and really helped me. And I wanted to share this idea that I think we should look at going forward when people attend like OSBA conferences and NSBA, is that Travis created this template and he made this Google Doc, and it's this whole thing where we could dump our pictures in, dump our thoughts. I have pages and pages of notes that I took. Notice the highlights in there, because those highlights were areas that I could go into that document and drop my notes. And it was one document that we all could feel like we participated in, share our pictures. And I don't know about you guys, but when you go to conferences, it's a little nerve-wracking. And how special is it that you have to write like a one-page thing, you file it away, and how much do we really look at that? Where you can actually almost walk side by side and see the experience of the pictures, the thoughts, here's successes, here's challenges, versus, and you still are putting perspectives in that. So I just really would like us to talk about that in the future. Bless you. So, because I think it's a great idea to be able to come together on that. You know, and this was all about just transformational learning, and I absolutely loved the idea of, as we know, it's not just a college focus, but I wanted to write this one thing as I'm busily taking notes. But the shift in conversation, it was like transformational learning. It was that the diploma doesn't really necessarily hold the weight that it used to. It used to guarantee employment. It used to be people could graduate and they're going to work or they're going to go. And it doesn't really hold that weight that it does. So the more that we can give them skills and education to benefit their future while they're in high school, it's not just, and that's not just a focus on a 4-year school, but it's a focus on trades and skills. And they have these levels of where they can go from certificates, like going into the weeds, industry recognized certifications, so that, you know, students could get out and they could have a certification that could say, I can go into a welding program, or they could take that and continue on their higher ed. So I just think it's those pathways that we can create for them is so key and so important. So I look forward to talking more about that, and I am so appreciative of being able to go to that, and for the camaraderie, and thank you.
Wow, how can I follow that? I want to just say that we had a really good time at the OSBA conference, and I scribbled a few pages of notes myself, which I'll present at a separate time, other than to say that it was very worthwhile, and it was great to reconnect with colleagues from other municipalities and things, and it was just a lot of fun, just a very energizing weekend. And for those of you who missed it, I actually had to get up there and dance on stage again, so.
Yeah, pictures.
Can you really?
Yeah, Kim took some pictures. You might find it as well.
It's true. So anyway, it was worth it. I always enjoy these things. Even though I've gone to all of their training sessions before, and I've got, you know, I've now gone all the way through their leadership institute. Just getting back and going back and reviewing, and there's just so much value there. So I appreciate OSBA partnership with us together, and I just look forward to next time. And I'll tell you more about it in detail. I think I'm going to write it up, and I'm going to put it up so you guys can see it.
Okay, so I agree that the summit this morning was excellent. I won't talk too much about it since other people have mentioned it. I will say that I really liked the big wheel story that Mike told if you were there, and I'm really looking forward to the mural returning so that we can reference that. And I also loved the Egyptian quote, basically the equivalent of kids these days, and it's from like how many thousands of years ago. So it was great. I'm looking forward to that expanding and continuing. I think it was great. Becky did a great job. And I know, you probably didn't do it alone, but I'm sure you did a lot of it alone, so good job. And then I wanted to just let you guys know that Monty and I are awesome, and we got all of the apples packaged and set. Yeah, we were record time. They said we did in like 50, 45 minutes. We had the help of Jane and Marlene and Justin, but they're all set, ready for delivery tomorrow for American Education Week, so that's exciting. I had a great time at the OSBA convention. It was my first annual convention, and I got my little buttons and my little certificates that are going to hang on my wall for my bronze, silver, and gold award and the color printed on the back. So that was a lot of fun. And then also I was invited this weekend to go to an AVID conference in San Diego on a grant from Nike. So I don't know why I'm so much cooler than you guys, but I am. And so I'm going to go, and I'm really excited to share that with you guys. I'm not really, just joking. Hopefully you guys know that.
Just to be clear, the invite went from Nike, not from, we didn't.
Right, no, yeah, that's true. Your Nike thinks I'm cooler. Not
We're all busily taking notes. Mike thinks she's cool.
No, I'm sure I would not have been his top choice, but nonetheless. Okay. And we haven't met since October 28th. We met the day before that, but we went on a field trip, a math, science, and tech field trip. Janine went, Kim went, and Rain went, right? Yeah. And it was awesome. We went to McKinney, South Meadows, and Liberty, and saw some really awesome stuff. So I'm looking forward to the next one of those, and that's all I'll say. It's 13.
Yeah, Lisa and I kept waiting for the rest of the board to show up this morning.
All right, must you
But
share?
it was all me and you.
Yep, it was all of us.
And I don't have anything else.
Excellent. We've already heard about all the exciting activities. Again, thank you, Beth. It was a great opportunity. Actually, I want to reflect that it was a great opportunity to scratch my head and consider new people to invite to an event that would introduce them. I have a lot more ideas about other groups I think we can proactively work with. And Travis and I have had some conversations earlier already. But those kind of opportunities are great, and it's exactly the kind of thing you're talking about, engaging a community, going out to them and offering opportunities. And of course, the kids were great, and I told Beth I was almost dancing and singing up there this morning. Restrained myself, all fortunate. And with that, we will call this meeting adjourned.